What's cracking, dudes, dudettes? T-Money and the Heezy here for Body Bags, week 217. The film that I chose to review this week is a film from 1987, CANUXPLOITATION film, shot in Ontario, Canada. Recently released by Severin sublabel Intervision Films. We have Beyond the Seventh Door. Very interesting film from 1987, directed by Bozidar D. Benedict. And it stars Serbian actor Lazar Rockwood and Bonnie Beck. Basically two characters in this film. And I'll read you guys the synopsis on the back here. It says, more than 30 years later, it remains one of the most ambitious, sought-after, and totally bizarre low-budget Canadian features of all. Yugoslavian-born actor Lazar Rockwood, in a notorious debut performance that still astounds CANUXPLOITATION fans, is Boris, an ex-con and career thief who convinces his ex-girlfriend to help him, played by Bonnie Beck, Wendy, played by Bonnie Beck, to help him rob her wealthy boss's castle. But when Boris discovers that the eccentric millionaire has booby-trapped the building, they'll have to survive they'll have to survive survive 6 riddle-triggered rooms of homicidal mayhem in order to claim the treasure. Writer, director, and future best-selling religious thriller author B.D. Benedict made his unforgettable filmmaking debut with this bottom-shelf VHS classic, now loaded with special features, produced exclusively for its worldwide DVD premiere. So I have yet to check the special features out in the film, and this was actually the first time that I've ever seen it, naturally, since it's never released before. I actually hadn't even heard of it before it came out, but a very interesting film. It's kind of like a predecessor to films like Cube and Saw, and movies where the general moral of the story is basically like greed, or not just desserts, but basically you get basically greed will get you killed. To sum it up, basically you've got this guy Boris who just gets out of jail. By the way, well, I'll talk about that in a little bit. But he's basically his ex-girlfriend Wendy tells him about this. She's a housekeeper for this eccentric millionaire who's a paraplegic, and we can just go into his house and steal his stuff, no problem. And of course, him being a career criminal that just got out of jail is definitely enticed by that. And so they meet up at the castle where the guy lives, and it's basically he gets locked behind the first door. Once they go into the room, or they open up the key and they descend into the 7 doors. Basically they get locked in the castle and they cannot get out. The only way they can get out is to go through each door, and each room is basically rigged with a different booby trap. So it really reminded me of films like Cube, in particular, where you've got spikes coming down, you've got walls closing in, you've got pipelines bursting and water overflowing. So really cool from like a technical aspect, because this is obviously predates CGI, so all of the booby traps were man-rigged and man-made, and you could really see that. But I think what I really liked the most about this film was the acting by Lazar Rockwood. My mouth is blue, by the way. I had a blue, I got this shirt in the mail today, Shelley the 13th on a side note, and I had one of those war heads that he always gives you at Fret Rag, so that's why my tongue's blue. But anyway, back to the synopsis. So, the acting by Lazar Rockwood is phenomenal. I mean, this guy plays, and apparently, I was reading some articles, and people were discussing how he was a Hollywood heartthrob, and how he was this handsome, Serbian actor, and it's like they made him, I guess the special makeup department should be credited for that, because the makeup effects, they made him look like a grungy career criminal. I mean, it was perfect. He didn't look handsome to me. He looked like, a pretty roughneck criminal. So the acting was phenomenal. I didn't know, like, I was like, is this guy American, or is he Serbian, or is he Yugoslavian? Is that the same? No, obviously not. What is he? Because he was just like, he could have been American, and I would have thought he just had an accent. Like, he could have been any ethnic background, and I don't know where I'm going with that thought, but he was excellent as Boris, this career criminal. And I guess so. I guess the strengths that this movie has is the acting, the setting, the practical effects, and the story. I mean, I guess, like, and of course it has a moral. Because basically there's an ultimatum. I don't want to give too much away, but at the end of the film, Boris, the character, has to come to, he can either leave or he can grab that cash and face the consequences of what are beyond the seventh door. Now I have questions, but I can't really discuss them because I don't want this to be a spoiler, but I have my own, like, plot hole skepticism, especially there at the end, but I really can't get into that because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Overall, I would recommend this film. I'd probably give it like a 7 or a 6 out of it, probably a 6 out of a 10. I thought that the ending, it's a twist ending, and I thought it was good. It kind of ties the whole story together well. It's like, but it's also very predictable, and it's also very abrupt. And you're kind of like, for me, like the whole movie Beyond the Seventh Door, I understand it's kind of like a metaphor for what's beyond the seventh door, and I understand what that is, and it's kind of revealed at the end of the film what is beyond the seventh door, but I kind of wanted to see something more physical. Like, you've got this awesome artwork, so I was like, okay, so what kind of monstrous Frankenstein type creature, well, not, you know what I mean, not Frankenstein, I know Frankenstein is not the monster, but what kind of, like, crazy, creation does this eccentric mad doctor, paraplegic doctor, have behind the seventh door? And I was thinking it was going to be like this whole showdown and like this amazing climactic ending, which you do not get at all. So don't expect that. Go into this movie understanding that there is a story that's being told with a very, I don't want to say cliche morale, but a story that's been told many times before, a very familiar story. But it's good writing, it's great acting, it's good set design, the setting's great. And yeah, so, I mean, and it's also a film that's never been really seen before. It's a very obscure 80s CANUXPLOITATION film. So, I would check it out, guys. $7.25. I'm going to wrap this up. Beyond the Seventh Door. You can grab this for like $10-12, maybe $15 max from Severin, from Intervision, from Severin's website, and I would recommend it. It's a unique watch. You're not going to get like a ton of like crazy gore, really any gore at all, or much action, but there's also a scene in the movie I want to add real quick where the woman, Wendy, falls into this hole, and there's this, like, they call him the dead man, just, he has no screen name, he's just, like, his actual name in the credits was the dead man, and it's just this man that's, like, rigged on the floor. I guess he's part of the booby trap attraction, and it's really spooky. Like, I wish I had a still of it, but there isn't one on this disc. But just like I was waiting, because she's basically like trapped in like the bottom floor of this room, and the only way she can get out is by either climbing up top or unscrewing this like bolted locked door that has like 30 some odd bolts in there, and water is leaking through the pipe, so it's like just a matter of time before she drowns. So but all the while there's a dead man on the floor, and in his hand, grasped in his hand is a screwdriver, which would give her access to unlock the bolts or whatever, and get free. But I really like that. I thought it was creepy. I was waiting for the guy to open his eyes the whole time, because it was just like one of those things that could go in either direction. Like, oh, is this ghoul gonna pop up, or is he just gonna stay dead and he's part of like and you'll find out when you watch the film, you know. But it was great. But yeah, let's talk about this, guys. So if anybody's seen this movie and we want to spoil it in the thread, that's fine with me. I don't want to spoil it for you guys now, but there are several questions that I have that I think are potential plot holes, but I don't want to mention them because I don't want to ruin anything, and I think they're important. All having to do with basically the ending of the film. So yeah, all right, cool. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching my review. Catch you next Friday. T-Money signing out for Body Bags with Horror Laws. Peace.